Take a pin and pin it right at the top here. Just gonna sew this here together relatively close to the edge here. It's very important that we leave a gap where we can then pull the elastic through. Once the sleeves are attached, first we're going to sew them with our normal sewing machine, then we're going to overlock them. And again, if you don't have an overlock machine, you can just zigzag stitch, just so the fabric doesn't fray so much anymore. And then here where the one notch is, means we need to attach it to the front. Put it on because there's only one step left to do, and that is to hem the blouse. Welcome back to another sewing tutorial. My name is Ann-Sophie and I'm the person behind Sewing with Solana, and today I decided to film a new tutorial for the Lucy Blouse. There's already a tutorial for it up that I uploaded a couple months ago, but the other day I was scrolling through my YouTube channel and then I realized that the way I was doing the Lucy Blouse in the original video is not the way I would usually make the Lucy Blouse, because I was using like a special kind of fabric. So I did the sleeves a bit differently, I didn't hem the blouse, and I had also the back fully double lined. And then I was actually thinking that I should probably film a new tutorial and show you how to make the normal Lucy Blouse. And I asked you on Instagram yesterday, and so many of you voted for yes, please film another tutorial. So today I started filming it and finished it. So I'm gonna spend my next few days editing it, and then hopefully it's gonna be online soon. But when you're seeing this, it's already online, so I'm just, what am I talking about? But yeah, I'm gonna link the sewing pattern for you down below. I'm also gonna link the linen fabric that I used down below. And this time I printed my pattern out in A0 because it saves so much time. But if you want to print it out at home using A4 or US letter, I'm also going to link a video for you where I show you how to print it out correctly and how to put it together. So when you purchase the sewing pattern, you get A4, US letter and A0, and then you also get a file called General Informations or General Info, and in there you find a size chart, you find how much fabric you need, and you also find that you also need elastic. So we need some elastic for the end of our sleeves. So all that information you're going to find in the General Info file. And I think I'm going to stop talking now and let's jump right into making the Lucy Blouse. Okay, so now I have my sewing pattern cut out. Here we have the front and we need to cut it out 4 times. Then we have the back and we need to cut it out once, but it needs to be cut on fold. Here we have the straps and we need to cut them out 6 times. Then the back facing, also cut it out once on fold. Then we have the sleeves, we need to cut out 2 times, and here's a little notch, and then here's 2 notches, which means here where the 1 notch is, we're gonna attach that later onto the front. And where the 2 notches is, this part of the sleeve is gonna go to where the back of the blouse is. And then we have the front bottom, which we're gonna gather together, and we need to cut it out 2 times, 1 time for the right side of the blouse and 1 time for the left side. And then we have the back bottom, which we need to cut out 1 time and unfold, and we're also gonna gather it together. And as you can see here, this is the length of the fabric. So here's the width of the fabric, and the grain line goes this way. And on the sewing patterns, you can always see like a line with 2 arrows, and that means you need to place it following the grain line. And then the same goes for all the other pattern pieces. So we just put them on like this. So here again is the length of the fabric, and we put it on like this. So I just now folded the fabric in half. So here's the fold line. So I've placed the back pattern piece on here where it needs to be folded. The same for the back facing. Then here is the sleeves, and we're gonna cut them out 2 times. And because the fabric is double here, we're gonna cut it out twice automatically, and we're gonna cut out the front twice for now. And then we need to cut it out 2 more times. And then we still need to cut out the front and back bottom and the straps. And then here with the sleeves where the 1 notch is, I'm gonna make a little cut And here where there's 2 notches, I'm gonna make 2 little cuts, just so later on when we sew, I know that this here, where the 1 little cut is, we need to attach to the front, and where the 2 cuts is, we need to attach to the back. And then here, where we need to sew a dart later, I'm just gonna take a pin and pin it right at the top here. And then I'm also taking my scissors and make a little cut here and just make them around 1/2 centimeter deep. And then I'm also gonna make 3 little 1/2 centimeter deep cuts here, so I know later on where to sew in my straps. And then you can take off all the pins that you use to pin the sewing pattern onto the fabric, and just make sure that you leave this one in. And then you can flip it around, and then I'm gonna take another pin, and you wanna carefully pull the 2 layers of fabric apart and pin another pin right where this one was. So like this. So now we have 1 here and 1 here. And then we do the same to the back piece of the Lucy blouse. Again, I'm putting a pin through here, and then I'm making 1/2 centimeter deep cuts down here. And now I'm doing the same. I'm carefully pulling the 2 layers of fabric apart and pinning another pin right here, so it looks like this. And here we have the little cuts, so we know later where to sew our darts. So here we have the sleeves cut out 2 times, then we have the back cut out 1 time, and we cut it on fold. So if we fold it open like this, it looks like this. Oops. Then we have the back facing cut out on fold. Then we have the back bottom cut out 1 time, also on fold. So if we fold it open, it's pretty long. Then we have 2 times the front bottom cut out. And then we have 6 straps cut out. And here we have 4 times the front cut out. We're gonna start now with the straps. It's up to you how wide you want your straps to be. What we're gonna do is, this is the good side. If you have a fabric with a visible good and bad side, you wanna make sure that the good side is facing you. And then we fold it in half, and then we're gonna sew. I'm gonna sew, I think, with a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, or you can sew with a 2 centimeter seam allowance, 3 centimeter seam allowance, totally up to you, depending how wide you want your straps to be. So we're gonna start sewing here. I'm gonna sew 1.5 centimeters away from the folded edge, all the way down, and then over here I'm gonna go across it to give a clean finish to the strap. And then we're gonna repeat this for all other 5 straps. And then depending how wide you made your straps, I would recommend you to cut some of the seam allowance off, just because it's going to make it easier to flip them in a second. And then you're going to do the same to the other 5 straps. And now I'm taking a loop turner and I'm going to push it through the opening here. And then right below where I sewed the strap closed, I'm going to push it out like this. And then I'm going to close it like this, and then carefully flip it till it comes out. And then we're going to repeat this also for the other straps. And now we can put the straps to the side for now. Next up, I'm taking my back facing, I'm folding it open, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to overlock this part here. And now with my fabric it doesn't matter, but if your fabric has a good and a bad side, you want to make sure that the bad side is facing you. And then we're just going to fold it like 1/2 centimeter inwards, and we're going to sew all the way along here. So we're just going to basically sew the overlocked part onto the back lining. And now I'm going to make sure that the good side is facing me, and I'm going to fold it in half. This is not a necessary step, but I just want to sew in the Sewing with Solana label. So now I have found the middle, and now I'm going to attach the label right here. And this we can also put to the side for now. And now I would recommend us to sew our darts. And I'm just going to start with the back piece of the Lucy Blouse. So on this side where I've put in my pins, this is the bad side. So if your fabric has a good and bad side, make sure that the bad side is facing you now, because now we're gonna fold it like this and sew the dart from here to here, and you want the dart to be on the inside. And the way we're gonna do this, we're gonna line up our 2 little cuts that we made here. Then you can just pin a needle in here. And now what we want to do is we want to sew a line from those 2 little cuts to where the needle is. So we're gonna sew like this. And then you're gonna do exactly the same over here. You're gonna line up the 2 notches. And we're gonna sew from the 2 little notches to where we put in the pin. And again, make sure that you're doing this, if your fabric has a visible good and bad side, to the bad side. So the bad side, the wrong side, is facing you. And at the beginning we're going to front and back stitch, but when we get to the pin over here, we're not going to front and back stitch. And just make sure you leave a few centimeters of extra thread here now. And then we're going to do the same to the other side. And then what we're going to do, we're going to pull the threads here apart, and then we're just going to make 3 knots. And now we can go to our iron, and I would recommend you to iron them either both towards the center or both away. I'm going to iron mine both towards the center. And now we need to sew the darts for the front pieces. And again, you want to make sure that you sew the darts at the back side. And we're going to pull them apart. So you always want to make sure that they are like this. So 2 of them are going to be, I've already sewn 2 darts. So here, this is the bad side, which is going to look like this later. So you're going to have 2 where the neckline is going this way, and then you're gonna have 2 where this is also the bed side and the neckline goes like this. So they're gonna be mirrored from each other, because I'll show you what we do later on. But yeah, what we need to do now, you wanna make sure that the bed side is facing you, and again, we line up our little notches down here. And then we sew a line from the notch to where the pin is, and then we do the same over here. And now we're gonna iron our darts towards where the armhole is, so towards the side. And now we lay 1 front piece in front of us with the good side facing us, so the dart is facing the table. And then we take another front piece, and you want to make sure that 2 good sides are facing each other, so this dart is facing us now. And then you can take 3 of your straps, and we're gonna pin them right here where our notches are. So first I'm gonna pin the neckline together, and then I'm going to pin down here, and I'm going to pin in my 3 straps. So the first notch is up here. So I'm going to take my first strap, and I'm going to place it right below it. And then here's the second one, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to place the strap right below it. And also because here we have 1 end of the strap that has a nice clean finish, and the other one is where it's still open. So you want to use the open end and pin it where the notch is. And here with this last one, I'm going to pin the strap right above the notch, because if you do it below, then it's going to be a bit too tight here, because we need to attach the front bottom here later. And now I'm going to start sewing here and then down here, and when we come to the straps, I'm just going to front and back stitch just to make sure they're not coming undone again. And now I'm going to do exactly the same to the other front pieces. You want to make sure that the two good sides are facing each other. And then we pin our 3 straps where the notches are. Here with the first notch, I'm going to do it right below. Second notch also right below. And then for the last one, I put the strap right above the notch. And then we're going to sew from here to here, or you can also start here and go down. And you need to pin the straps where the notches are. So the first strap I'm going to put right below the first notch. And then the second strap I'm going to also put right below. And then the last one I'm going to put right above the little notch. So this is what we have now, and what we can do, we can cut off this little corner here, just so there's a bit less fabric built up when we flip it. And we can also cut a little bit of the seam allowance here from where the curved neckline is. And now what we need to do is we can start with one and we fold it open, and then we can sew the seam allowance onto one of the sides. So if we sew the seam allowance of the neckline onto this side, then we also need to sew the seam allowance from down here on the same piece. So we're going to do the stitching really close to here, so just here. I'm going to show you better when we go back to the sewing machine. So if we have this folded open now, we're going to sew the seam allowance on this side, and then we fold the other one open. That means we need to sew the seam allowance now with this one on the other side. And I'm just going to start with this one first. So I'm going to sew the seam allowance onto this side here. So you want to make sure that this here, is folded towards the left. And then we're gonna leave the first few centimeters as they are. We're gonna start a little bit lower right here. And as we get closer to the corner, we won't be able to sew all the way to the corner, just a few centimeters away from it we need to stop. And then we can continue down here. Again, you won't be able to start sewing right on the top here because there's too much happening and the space is way too tight. So we're gonna start a few centimeters below the first strap, and again make sure that the seam allowance here is folded towards the left when you sew. And I'm gonna stop right above the last strap. And now we will be doing the same to the other side. And this time we're just gonna fold the seam allowance towards the right. So again, here this is the neckline. I'm gonna start a few centimeters below here. Then I stop again as we get closer to the corner. And then I'm gonna continue again a few centimeters below the first strap. Oops. And again, make sure that your seam allowance is folded towards the right this time. No. So this is now considered the bad side of the top. This is gonna face our body. And then this is gonna be the good side that's facing out. And here's what it looks like from the inside. So here we have this side, and again here where we can see the stitching now is now the bad side. And then this one is exactly the same, just mirrored, which is exactly what we want. And now we can put them to the side for now. And then we can take our back piece, and now we want our good side facing each other, so the darts are facing the table. And then we take our back facing, just gonna cut this off. And here, this is the good side, so you want the two good sides, again, good side, bad side, good side, facing each other, the two good sides facing each other. And now we're gonna pin it along here. And now we're gonna sew with a 1 centimeter seam allowance from here to here, and then we're gonna overlock it. So now we're gonna do something pretty similar. We're gonna take here our seam allowance and we're gonna sew it onto our back facing. Now what I'm gonna do, this you don't really have to do, it's just making it easier later on. So I'm just gonna sew this here together relatively close to the edge here, just so it's sewn together here, and then the same over here. And now we can start sewing the front and the back together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my back piece and lay it in front of me with the good side facing me. This side is facing the table. And then I take one of the front pieces, and now you want to make sure that the two good sides are facing each other. So this side here where we can see the stitching has to face us. And as you can see, if I put the shoulders here, then the two good sides are facing each other. If I would put it over here, then here would be the armhole and here the neckline. So you want the armholes to be like this with the back piece and the front piece, and then the two good sides are facing each other. And now what we're going to do is we're going to fold the front piece apart, and we're going to sandwich the shoulder part of the back in between the two front pieces here. And then here for the other shoulder, we have to use this front piece. And again, like here, there are both of the armholes. Bad side, good side, good side. Good sides are facing each other. Then we pull the bad side apart and we sandwich it around the shoulder of the back. And now we're going to sew from here to here, and then the same over here, from here to here. And I'm going to cut a little bit of this corner here off again. Same over here. And then we can flip it, and now we have a super nice shoulder. Like from the outside it looks super nice, but also from the inside. And here is what we have so far. So the next step is now to take our front and back bottom. And we're just going to start with the front, because what we need to do here, we need to hem basically, so we fold it in once, around 1 centimeter and 1 centimeter again. Oopsa. And you want to make sure that the bad side, the wrong side, is facing you here now. For me, it doesn't really matter, but we're going to do this one time here and then one time for the other piece. I'm just going to cut this straight. So we're going to sew here, and then we're going to do the same over here. Now we need to create a long stitch to gather the fabric together, and you just want to make sure now that the two bed sides are facing you and they're also facing each other, if you know what I mean, like bed side facing me and then they're both towards the center, and then we're going to do a long stitch across here and a long stitch across here. I'm just going to pin a needle in here just so when I go back over to the sewing machine I know where to make the long stitch. And then also we're going to do the same for the back bottom. So this is a pretty long piece, and it doesn't matter if you do it up here or if you do it down here. And now we're gonna leave a straight stitch. I'm gonna put the stitch length to a 4, which is the highest it can go, and then I'm moving my needle to the right. And now you always wanna make sure every time you start and stop sewing that there's quite a few centimeters of thread hanging off here, and it's important to not front and back stitch. And now I'm setting my machine back to normal. Now I'm gonna start with the back. So here I have the back in front of me with the good side facing me. And then I take the back bottom. And now if your fabric has a good and bad side, you wanna make sure that the two good sides are facing each other. And then first I'm pinning it on this end together, and then also on the other side. And then we need to gather the fabric together of the back bottom so it has the same length as the back piece. And to do that, you just pull your threads apart like this, and then you pull only on one of the threads, and then the fabric will gather together. And then you can also do the same on the other side. And now we're gonna sew from here to over here with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, and then we're gonna overlock it. Now we have to do it similar to the front, just a bit differently, because now we're going to sandwich it in between. So here I have the good side of one of the front pieces facing me right now. And here where you can see the stitching, this is the bad side. So good side is facing me. So now we need to take one of the front bottom pieces, and what you need to do, you need to make sure that this part where we have hemmed the front needs to be facing the straps. And here, this is the bad side where we have hemmed it, and this is the good side. And here I just want to show you why this piece is the wrong one, because here we have the gathered stitch down here, so this piece needs to be attached to the other two front pieces. And then we take this one instead, because here the part where we have hemmed it is facing the straps and the long stitch is up here, so that's a match now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fold it apart, the two front pieces, and we're first going to pin it onto the good side. And as you can see, I'm pinning it right here in the corner, because later on we're going to fold this over and sandwich it in between. And then we can gather the fabric together again, so it has the same length as the front piece. And now you just need to spend a bit of time and gather it equally, so like the gathers are spread across equally. And then you can pin it in place a bit. And then we can fold this over here and really sandwich the front bottom in between, pin everything in place. And now we're going to start sewing here, and we're going to sew across here. I forgot to press play, but I just did what I told you. Like, I just started sewing here, and then I went across here. Now you can cut a little bit of the corner off here, just so there's a bit less fabric built up. And also I'm going to cut the thread off. And then if we flip it, we have a really nice front. I'm going to cut this off too. And now we need to do exactly the same to the other front. So we take the other front bottom, and here where we hemmed it, the two good sides are facing each other. And then we flip this apart and we place it, right here. Pin it in place. Pin it in place over here. And then we gather the fabric together again. And then we sandwich it again. And we're gonna sew again from here to here. Okay, so we are getting there. So the front of the blouse is finished, the back of the blouse is finished. What we need to do next is we need to attach the sleeves. And to attach the sleeves, we need to gather the fabric on top of the sleeve together again. So we need to create another long stitch on each of the sleeves. Then we can attach them. Once the sleeves are attached, first we're going to sew them with our normal sewing machine, then we're going to overlock them. And again, if you don't have an overlock machine, you can just zigzag stitch, just so the fabric doesn't fray so much anymore. And then we're going to sew the sleeve and the side of the blouse here closed. And then we're going to create a tunnel at the end of the sleeves to pull an elastic through. And then the last step is to hem the end of the sleeves, the end of the blouse. So we're almost finished. A few more steps, but we're getting there. So let's go. So I did the long stitch from here to here. Doesn't matter if it's a few centimeters more or less. You just don't need to do the stitch length here where the curve is. And now we're just going to start attaching the first sleeve. I'm only going to show you one sleeve because the other sleeve is exactly the same. I'm just going to cut here. There we go. So here we have the front, and then here the back. And now we need to find, here we have the two little notches that we have made, so this means this belongs to the back, so I'm just going to pin it here quickly. And then here where the one notch is, means we need to attach it to the front. And I'm just going to start pinning now from the front and from the back, and the closer we get to the shoulder, then you'll realize that there's way too much fabric, so then we need to gather the fabric together. And again, as always, like not always, but pretty much most of the times, you want to make sure that the two good sides are facing each other. So the good side of the sleeve is facing the good side of the front and the back. And now you can see there's way too much fabric, so now we can start pulling on one thread and gather the fabric together. And then you want to try and gather the fabric equally, a few centimeters this way and a few centimeters this way from the shoulder seam. And here it's a bit up to you. Either you can have it, the gathers really close together, so it's really bunched up, or you can spread it apart a bit more. Whatever you choose to do, just make sure that on the other side, on the other sleeve and shoulder, you're going to do it similar. So now I have attached both of the sleeves, so one time here, the other one over here. And now what we're gonna do is, first we're gonna have the good side facing us, and then we fold the sleeve in half. And the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the seams here are lining up. And then I'm going to pin down the sleeve. So, and as you can see, now that I put it together, the end of my sleeves, like it's not lining up here perfectly, so probably I made a little mistake when I cut out the fabric. So I'm just gonna cut it so it's lining up here perfectly. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this pin out again, because now what I wanna do is I just wanna overlock the end of the sleeve. And then once I've overlocked the end of the sleeve, I'm gonna pin it back together here, and then I'm gonna sew with my normal sewing machine from here till down here to the end of the blouse. What we need to do next is we need to create a tunnel at the end of our sleeves here, where we can then pull our elastic through. So an easy way is just if you have the bad side of the sleeve facing you, then you take your elastic, you fold this down, and you just want to make sure that there's enough space for the elastic to sit comfortably and for you to do the stitching. So my elastic is 1.4 centimeters wide, and I folded my sleeve 2.5 centimeters inwards. You could also go over to your iron and iron it. Sometimes I prefer ironing it, other times I just pin it. Every day I have a different preferred way to do it. And now when we start sewing, it's very important that we leave a gap where we can then pull the elastic through. So I'm just going to start sewing here, then I'm going to sew all the way around, and then I'm finishing here again so I can leave a gap in here. And now I want you to take your elastic and you're gonna wrap it around your arm up here. And you want to make sure that the elastic is not too tight, not too loose. And then you just cut it off. And then you're gonna cut. And then you're gonna cut another piece having the same length for your other arm. And for reference, my elastic is 27.5 centimeters long. And then I'm gonna put a safety pin on this side of the elastic and on this side, and then I'm gonna pull it through the loop that we have created. And then we're gonna close the little gap that we have left open once the elastic is through. Okay, wait, hold on. So I'm gonna put an elastic on this side and on this side. Then I'm gonna pull it through the tunnel we have created. Then I'm gonna take the safety pins off, sew the elastic together like this. And then we can close the gap. And then we're gonna repeat everything for the other sleeve. I'm not gonna film that again because it's just gonna be exactly the same what we did for this one sleeve now. And now you just want to make sure, I'm going to pin the two ends together now. And then before you start sewing this together, like either you can do it with a straight stitch or with a zigzag stitch, I'm just going to make sure that my elastic didn't get twisted along the way. And before you close the gap, I can recommend you just to stick your arm, like pull the elastic in here, put your arm in here and then feel if the elastic feels good. If you maybe want to make it a bit tighter, or if you accidentally made it too tight, maybe you should exchange it for a bigger elastic. But if you like the way it fits, then you can go back to your sewing machine and just close the little gap here. Okay, so I finished the other sleeve now too, and now I just quickly put it on because there's only one step left to do, and that is to hem the blouse. So maybe just put it on quickly to figure out how wide or short you want your hem to be. But I think I'm gonna have a bit of a wider hem this time, so I'm gonna fold it up 2 centimeters and 2 centimeters again. So let's do that now. I just had the heart attack of a lifetime. Well, not of a lifetime, it's a bit dramatic. But I only have 2 more clips to film, and my SIM card, like not SIM card, but my memory card was full. And I wanted to delete one video that I took in the morning that I knew I don't need for this tutorial anyways. And then I accidentally clicked on delete everything. And everything was gone, and thank God for YouTube. Like I found a YouTube tutorial, like a YouTube video that showed me how you can recover them. I had to pay a lot of money for it, but I feel like it was worth it because I spent so much time today filming this tutorial, and it is so hot in my studio at the moment. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I really have to move downstairs. Like filming this tutorial was a bit of a workout because it's so hot up here, which is also why I'm wearing now just my bikini and my skirt. But anyways, I am back. I can't believe I was able to recover all the videos from today. Otherwise I would have been so bummed out and probably not motivated for a couple of weeks to film this again. But yeah, Now we should finish the blouse and just hem it, and then we're done. So you want to make sure that the inside, the bed side of the blouse is facing you, and I'm gonna fold mine up around 2 centimeters. And then 2 centimeters again. And then we're just gonna sew from here all the way to the other end. So we are finished now with the Lucy blouse. Thank you so much if you've purchased a sewing pattern, if you have followed along. I really hope this second tutorial helped you to make it even easier to follow along, and send me photos, send me videos. I'm so happy I filmed this tutorial again, and I'm so happy I didn't lose all my files that I thought I had lost. Oh my god, I can't believe that nearly happened. Like, it basically happened and then I was able to recover them all again. So I'm so happy you're watching this now, and I hope I see you in my next tutorial again. And as always, send me photos of your finished Lucy blouses. I love seeing them. And until next time, goodbye.